Hey everybody, welcome to Reaction Shots for April. We're talking about Quentin Tarantino, or as he's sometimes known right now, Quentin Quarantino. I'm joined, of course, by Michael Huber.
Quarantino. Did you come up with that right now?
No, I've heard a lot of people say that. And then we have a very special guest, Tokyo Slim.
I'm not that special of a guest. Just, I'm just here. I'm here.
An extremely special guest whose real name I do not know and never will know.
Never.
I've decided.
Castor Troy. Tokyo Slim with Castor Troy guest star.
I mean, it might as well be my real name by this point. I've been using it for like 17 years. So.
Wow, that's good. That's a good track record. Anyway, yeah, we're talking about Quentin Tarantino, but before we get into that, what have you guys liked lately? Tokyo, you want to go first?
Sure. Most recently I watched Onward.
Oh, haven't seen that yet.
Disney Plus. And I think it's like a B. It's not like outstanding. It's just, I mean, like really, like if you've seen a Pixar movie, like you know how this is gonna like work out. It's very kind of formulaic, tugs at your heartstrings, family bonds. I think Huber would like it a lot. There's a lot of like D&D stuff in there.
Does it, because from the trailers gave me very heavy DreamWorks vibes. Does it feel like a Pixar movie?
The art style is a little bit like that, yeah. I just like, I don't know. I think it's mostly just kind of due to the world they built, and I think that like it's a very fantasy world, and it's kind of like I don't know. There's like unicorns and stuff, but like the unicorns in this world are kind of like raccoons. In the real world, like they like dig through the trash and like they're like pests or whatever. It's an interesting world they built. I wouldn't say it's like one of the better of their movies that I've seen.
Yeah.
But it's like Ratatouille is my personal favorite. Coco's up there. Up is up there. It's kind of like below that tier.
Sure. Yeah, I need to see Onward. I have Disney Plus, so I didn't know if they were putting it out on Disney Plus or if they were doing the Invisible Man thing where you buy it on Amazon for $20 or whatever.
Yeah, no, it was free on Disney Plus. I think it came out on Monday.
Oh, okay.
Like I don't know what day it is right now, so
Me neither. I'm not that far behind then.
Same.
Anything else that you've seen lately?
I also just kind of revisited, just like randomly, Apocalypse Now Final Cut.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have the 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray set.
Oh, cool.
And that movie, it's up there. It's amongst my favorites. It's like that film is art.
Yeah.
In the most like pure definition of the word. And it's not a perfect movie by any means. It has its like weird story, hiccups and like lulls. The plantation scene a lot of people hate. There's a French plantation scene in the final cut that's not in a regular cut.
Yeah.
I personally really like it because it like gives you a kind of a break, but then also not really. Like all those people are insane. They're all debating whether or not to leave their plantation that's in the midst of this war zone, and they're like too proud to leave. And it's kind of a different sort of insanity than all the other insanity in the movie, but they're all like very polite about it.
I remember liking that scene a lot. I'm trying to remember, is Redux and Final Cut are different, right?
Yeah, Redux was kind of, there's some more, I can't really remember the exact differences, but there's the Redux, I think, doesn't have the plantation scene, but does have like the Playmates.
It's got the Playmate, yeah. I think I've seen every version then, because I've for sure seen both Playmates and the Plantation. Did Walter Murch edit all the versions?
I don't know. I'm not sure, actually. I want to say he did, but I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head.
That's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that movie. You've seen that, right, Huber?
One time.
OG version?
What's up?
OG or Final Cut?
Final Cut.
Oh, okay. What were you gonna say, Tokyo?
Literally, you can just like pause any frame of that movie and just make it like your desktop background.
Oh yeah.
It's
10 out
so
of 10.
beautiful.
One of those rare movies that has a very specific feeling when you're watching it.
Yeah.
Yes, and then you have a very specific feeling after you're done watching it too.
Yeah. Great. Anything else?
That's about all. I've been pretty like light on movies for the past 2 or 3 months. I've been
All
doing other
video games
stuff.
all the time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, it's a
That
good
and
time for games right now. man.
YouTube. I've fallen down lots of YouTube holes. Just random stuff, cooking shows, travel docs, stuff.
What cooking shows?
I recently discovered there's it's called Alex French Guy Cooking. He's like just this guy in Paris who he's like, I'm going to learn to make the perfect meatball, and he like travels to like Sweden and then Morocco and then
Wow.
like China
That
or
seems
whatever,
fun.
and he like learns how to make meatballs in a bunch of different cultures and then makes
That's
his
so
own
fun.
version of a meatball.
Wow. I've just been watching a lot of Mr. Sunday movies. Caravan of Garbage. I like those a lot.
Nice.
What about you, Huber? What have you liked lately?
Started the newest season of Expanse finally.
I just
Season
finished
4?
the latest season of Expanse.
Nice. Yeah, I'm on like episode 4 or 5
Of the newest
Um,
season?
of the
3?
newest season. Yeah. Yeah, I watched all the other seasons when they came out, but then just missed this one.
Yeah.
This and Mr. Robot's final or like newest seasons I missed when they came out, just because I was so busy with like so many other shows and games and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I've been meaning to go back to Mr. Robot when it becomes available on Prime or something, but yeah, just been doing Expanse, loving it. It feels so different, which is actually kind of okay now, because obviously it went to Amazon. It's like way different, but
Yeah.
it's been so long since we watched it that it's like kind of refreshing that it's like kind of a new show.
Definitely, because we finished it. Omar and I finished it just a couple of nights ago.
Mhm.
And I won't spoil anything, obviously, but like, yeah, the vibes are way different. And like,
Yeah.
it's clear, maybe to the show's detriment, that they can swear now. So whereas Avisurala would like swear once or twice with great impact, now every other
Yeah.
word is a swear word out of her mouth, and it's kind
Yeah,
of
You
annoying.
know what? I noticed that actually in the first couple episodes. You're right about that.
Yeah.
100%. Had
She's-
a little less impact.
She's F this, F that now, whereas in season 2 when she says, I'll do whatever I goddamn like or whatever, it's like,
Yeah.
whoa!
Totally.
Yeah. Anything
Yes.
else?
That's pretty much it. Then just been gaming.
Pretty
Then,
much it. Also a fun
just
YouTube
watching-
channel.
Yeah, just watching like my regular eating shows, which are currently Shield, Vampire Diaries, and Nashville.
Wow. That's funny.
Oh, and Debs.
I've heard Debs is cool.
Debs, I feel like the biggest criticism you can have of any show in the golden age of TV is 2 episodes too long.
Oh, yeah.
It's like an 8-episode thing. Alex Garland actually writes and directs every single episode, Ian. So definitely,
Alex Garland does?
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Should
I did
definitely
not know that either.
That's interesting.
jump on. Yeah, I still feel like it's 1 or 2 too many. This is not a spoiler. I feel like the format really lets him go all in on his ideas, but at the expense of stakes. Because we're just going so in depth and we're like taking so much time on things and explaining things that kind of the urgency and the stakes have diminished somewhat.
I do find amongst his work that, and sometimes this is good, sometimes this is bad. Like, it works in 28 Days Later, and I think it doesn't work in The Beach, where, like, he'll try to have 2 ideas when one would have been better, you know? Whereas
Sure.
in 28 Days Later, the second idea is actually the interesting one. Whereas
Yeah.
in The Beach, like, the ending just goes off the rails. And Sunshine, which is like a near perfect movie until the 3rd act, when it just goes crazy. I think
I
you
love
wrote that.
movie.
Ex Machina is very nice, though.
Yeah, I gotta watch Sunshine again. It's been many, 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 many years
I've seen it a few
It's-
times. I like it. I
Yeah.
just what were you gonna say, Tokyo Slam?
I love that movie. I even love the dumb ending. Like the stupid third act is such just like a 90-degree turn from
Yeah.
the rest of the movie. I don't know. I kind of always like it when a movie does that, just because it's like the least expected thing they could do at this point. Is like this is a very
Yeah.
like clinical, sterile environment they've been in for the entire film, and then like it's just a kind of a very harrowing emotional drama about these people who are isolated and like trying to be heroic and not living up to that potential. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, by the way, psycho killer on the ship, slasher movie.
Yeah.
And then like, drive your spaceship. I'm not, I don't want to spoil anything. Spoilers.
Yeah.
But like,
The
the ending of it is just bonkers, like insane. And I don't know, like one of my personal favorites of his films, just because the first half and second half were so like it's like Jenga, like hey,
Yeah.
Totally.
they're
Even
two
28
very
days later.
two
to an
very
extent.
cool different movies.
yeah,
What are you gonna say, Huber?
Even 28 days later, kind of just the last
Yeah.
act. It's very different.
Definitely shifts tones.
God, I love that movie.
It's
And
very
28
good.
weeks. I would just
28 weeks.
keeping the dream alive, man. 28 months later, one of these days.
28 years later.
Yeah, they
28
should do
months,
28 years later.
28
Maybe they'll
years,
do it.
Yeah, honestly,
David Lynch, pull a David Lynch.
seriously,
Anything else, Hubie?
that's it.
I of course watched Tiger King. Cause what else are you gonna do? Definitely an interesting experience. Last night or a couple of nights ago, I watched the 70s. I don't remember the specific year. 78 maybe. The Orient Express, Murder on the Orient Express,
good.
the Sidney
So
Lumet
fun.
movie. Albert Finney.
Sean Connery's in that, right?
Sean Connery's in it, but like only
Barely.
kinda.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if he wasn't a huge deal, but I thought he was big by then. I don't know. He's just kind of there. Of course, everybody kind of is in that movie. Really fun movie though. I'd never seen that version. I saw the Kenneth Branagh one, which I saw it on a plane, and that was the good setting for that, But this one, yeah, I subscribed to Criterion Channel finally. I pulled the trigger
Nice.
on that. So, Orient Express was the first one I watched for whatever reason. Well, actually, it was mentioned by maybe Just Right on YouTube, talking about the movies that influenced Knives Out. And I really liked Knives Out, and they mentioned this one, and it was the only one on Criterion, so I was like, okay. We talked about Expanse. I'm loving season 3 of Westworld so far. It's pretty cool. Kind of made, like, season 2 was a lot of work, but season 3 is a lot of fun so far. Did we talk about The Outsider already, Huber, on this?
I don't know if we did. I know you and I have briefly talked about it. The old classic, 2 episodes too long.
Yeah. Maybe this one was just one.
Yeah,
But-
one. Sure, one.
But, yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah,
Can't
I
really
know,
talk
I-
about it without spoiling it.
totally.
So
And
we
I always-
shouldn't talk about it.
Yeah, and I always see, I'll always see Stephen King a little differently from you because you read so much of it. So
I've read
Did
all
that-
of Dark Tower for sure. That
did
might
that
be the only ones I've read, but
did that impact your outsider viewing at all?
I'm trying to think of how to say this without without tipping the hat, and I'm not sure I can. But there definitely was a moment where I was like, "Oh right, Stephen King," or like which Stephen King are we gonna get? Was my question going in? Yeah.
Nice.
And then I just wanted to shout out to Fleabag because the show is perfect in my opinion, and they're putting out the one-woman show. I think you can get it on Amazon for like $5 or something, or maybe National Theater or something. Google it. But you can watch her one-woman show starting, I believe, the day this episode comes out, Friday, unless it's already up. But yeah, I went and saw that with a few people in a theater, which was funny. There was just, they were just projecting a recording of it, but it was really great and worth watching. But watch the show first, I would say. Watch the show first. Cool. That's what I've liked lately. in addition to lots of video games.
So many video games.
So many video games.
Jill
All the
Valentine.
Jill Valentine, which basically felt like a movie, playing Resident Evil 3.
Totally.
And a little over 24 hours from now, we'll all be playing Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Some of us will.
Uh-oh. You're not going to play it?
No, I'm just getting mine late.
Oh, you got a physical copy. That's the problem.
Gotta have that physical copy. I'm a hoarder, man. I got a collection.
Oh.
I got like 2,500 DVDs right over there in the other room. So.
Dang.
Oh, wow. I used to collect Blu-rays and DVDs, and then I finally took all the cases and just put the discs in a little thing, and like all my Blu-rays are housed in like this, like, you know, a 10 by 10 cube that used to take up like shelves, you know.
Yeah.
I wish I could do the same with my board games.
I love cases. I love case art. I love steel books. I love all that stupid marketing stuff that they just shove down your throat and, like, you know, make you pay extra for, and and you know, like the DVD menu screens here.
Yeah.
That, like, oh man, I can never not go physical media just because of like it's a specific thing, man. Like, you know, Amazon is great, and Netflix and like HBO and stuff. Streaming is fantastic, but you're never gonna get this out of
You're never gonna wake up 4 hours later with the Die Hard DVD menu on loop.
Exactly.
I've done that so many times.
The best. Just like the Buffy menu, like
Yeah.
episodes, like
Yeah. Just like some like 10-second music loop driving you mad in your dreams. For real. All right, well, let's talk about our man Q Payne.
Quarantino.
Quentin Quarantino. It's funny because as a bit of a preamble, I think it's an interesting episode for me because I like Tarantino. I'm not like over the moon gaga for Tarantino. I also don't dislike Tarantino. You know, obviously, like, I think that he's contributed so much to film, and like he definitely has a singular voice, and you can never fault somebody for that, you know. I mean, unless their voice is wicked, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
and, you know, it's not. I want to bring this out right away too. It's not that he is not occasionally problematic in certain ways.
Like Tarantino, yeah,
controversial figure.
Yeah.
But he's just so, like, he's not a hypocrite about it. Like, he knows exactly what he's doing, and he can explain to you why he's doing it, and it's just up to you whether or not you agree with his interpretation of things or whatever. That's just his deal, you know?
Yeah.
There's one, I think I, like, started loving him so young because, like, I love gore and violence, you know? And he was so, like, controversial for that when I was a child. Like, I can remember my dad having to watch Pulp Fiction with me on VHS. He's like, you're not going to watch this alone. Like, I want to watch it with you. And I was, like, you know, pretty young. I definitely wasn't 17. Showed me it pretty early. And, like, I don't know, I love gore and violence. Like, you can love gore and violence without it being, like, without being sick and twisted, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
It's funny because his style of gore and violence to me is so cartoonish that it doesn't even register as grotesque, for me. Maybe because I grew up watching such crazy movies. Definitely was exposed to violence at a very young age because of film.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, Tarantino movies have never struck me as violent just because they're so over the top that it like goes beyond it. You know what I mean? Except for obviously there are definitely in his more restrained moments. That's when it's way more like affecting. I think psychologically.
Well, see, and the thing,
Dogs kills and stuff.
Yeah.
The thing too, especially with like his earlier stuff, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, a lot of the violence is implied violence, and people don't remember that either.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like people are like, oh, you see this dude get his ear cut off. You don't. You see the reaction,
And you hear it.
and you hear it, and that's the line that he drew. It wasn't really until Kill Bill that he showed the actual violence, the acts of violence that he portrayed on the screen, and it was kind of like a turning point for him, like Kill Bill Volume 1 was.
Yeah.
Like up until that point, like Marvin's head gets blown off in the back of the car in Pulp Fiction, and you never see it.
Violence.
You just
Right.
see like blood splatter on the back window, and then like on the back of like their heads and stuff. You don't actually see anything happen, and it's just like the shocking nature of like the implied violence was like ramped up more than the actual violence you were seeing in other movies. That was the issue.
You might have hit the nail on the head for a question I wanted to ask you guys, because there's something I've been thinking about with Tarantino, and it's like, I feel like he has two, maybe more than two, but he has, like a lot of artists have phases, have like eras or whatever, and he has at least two for me, and Kill Bill might be the delineation point, like Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, Jackie Brown, and then Kill Bill after, because and I don't know if it's just the violence, but there's sort of a grandiose nature to his filmmaking that was introduced around the time of Kill Bill, and I don't know if its budget got bigger so he could do more crazy things or what.
Like, I feel like Inglorious, obviously Death Proof is in there too, but like Inglorious Bastards onward is like he's a straight up adult.
Yeah.
You know? I feel like those movies are so mature, and it's like an older, wiser, even more skillful, confident director coming back.
But it's weird though, because I think maybe his most restrained and mature film might be Jackie Brown. Maybe because he didn't write it.
And that's a point I wanted to bring up. My personal,
I thought he wrote that.
Like you, I kind of,
or it was based on something. I don't know.
I respect Quentin Tarantino a lot. I think he is probably the most influential filmmaker of my generation. Just in the amount of like reach and scope that he has in pop culture is staggering.
Yeah.
You can watch television shows that'll reference Pulp Fiction. You can watch, Marvel movies that reference Pulp Fiction. Samuel L. Jackson obviously is like in everything, but he really wasn't until Pulp Fiction made him that star. He was just a regular working class character actor before that. And now he's like this household name who's telling people not to go outside and stay at home, whatever. Like he's the person he is today because of Quentin Tarantino. And the thing with, I lost my original train of thought. The thing I really, like the movies I love that Quentin Tarantino is involved in are ones where he's tempered by some other outside force.
Yeah.
Jackie Brown was Elmore Leonard Rum Punch, an adaptation of that book, which was a, straight up kind of crime heist type of novel in a very pulpy way. And he adapted that into Jackie Brown. True Romance, which is my favorite movie of all time. He wrote it, sold it to make Reservoir Dogs, and then was picked up by Tony Scott. And Tony Scott made a bunch of changes to it. It was originally in the Quentin Tarantino out of order,
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And it originally had a very depressing, sad ending to it. And Tony Scott changed the ending. He's like, nah, I don't want it. I wanted a happy ending to this movie. And he kind of just chopped it all up and rewrote it and made it his own movie. Still, the Quentin Tarantino thumbprint is definitely in the dialogue, is definitely in the characters, the ensemble, everybody is in this movie. Samuel Jackson, Chris Penn, Christopher Walken, Gary Oldman. This movie is all-star cast.
Yeah.
And it is Patricia Arquette's birthday today. Not
Happy
when you're
birthday.
watching this, but when we're filming it.
Right.
So happy birthday, Patricia Arquette. And it's just one of those deals. It's like, that's that's like when I think he's at his best is when he's kind of restrained in some way or like not fully able to control the entire workflow of a project.
I agree 100%. And like, it's sad the death of his editor, you know, and you can feel there's just a little something different with his movies since that.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're bloated or anything like that, but it's just like the editor's voice is different, and you can sense it. Hateful Eight maybe could have, could stand to be shorter, but like that's not all that editing is, obviously, you know. But yeah, when he's working from source material or reined in somehow, I think that's true of a lot of artists.
Definitely.
Some people do their best work when they have no money, or when the studio is breathing down their neck, or like they have to come up with creative solutions to things. Like, I mean, George Lucas is the obvious, like, snarky first thought answer, right? Where it's Peter Jackson, yeah, it's like
unhinged.
Well, although Peter Jackson, like, he had all the money in the world for Lord of the Rings, and those turned out all right. But yeah,
there's also, I can't remember the guy. Be Kind, Rewind, and
Michel Gondry.
Gondry, and then like they give him a big budget movie, and he goes and makes Green Hornet.
Right.
You know, like that's what you get when you give that guy money, and he's like a genius without it, and with it, it's just like, no, take the money away from him, let him be, like, because that's his creative process. Is he actually creates, you know, visually.
Yeah.
His movies. So CGI is not where he's strong.
I wonder. I want some statistician to take, like, auteurs, compare the budgets and the, like, critical reception of their films, and find, like, the nexus point for like Godard and Michel Gondry and Charlie Kaufman and like everybody, and like Spielberg. You know, like what's the most money they should have, you know?
I feel like there's more. Like, I love that. I feel like there's two though. Like Guillermo is like, would be a fun one to do that with, because it's like, what is he really passionate about? You know, I feel like he had more money, more budget with Shape of Water versus Crimson Peak, or just interesting to.
It's funny, Del Toro's a funny pull, because to me, like, his movies, I mean, I don't know the budgets of his films, but his movies they've all got that feel. They don't, none of them feel like cheap or too expensive. They all feel like right there, you know?
Yeah, that like 80 mil.
Yep.
70 mil.
Without actually knowing what the budgets of all his movies are, it's really hard to tell which ones are high budget and which ones aren't. I mean,
like he could have had more money for Crimson Peak than Shape of Water, for all I know. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Devil's Backbone and like Pan's Labyrinth and Kronos.
I need to see Kronos still.
Oh my God, Kronos!
So like low budge.
I gotta see Kronos. I still haven't seen it.
It's good.
All right, so I asked the patrons.
The
patrons, what their favorite Q-tip movie was.
Nice.
I was using a different name for Quentin Tarantino every time. So I can just go through the comments, and if anything jumps out at you guys, jump in. Let me know. Otherwise, I'll just keep going, huh?
When you're done with this, I have compiled kind of a loose overall ranking that they have come up with based on their favorites and then least favorites.
Okay.
I merged both lists, and there's a clear top and a clear bottom film, and there's a bunch of interesting stuff in it.
Huber, what's your? We've both seen the stuff, but Huber, what's your guess? And we'll see at the end of this if you're right. What's your guess for the patron's favorite and the patron's least favorite? I'm not even sure. What?
Pulp Fiction is a masterpiece that has no competition whatsoever. It's number one.
Okay.
Anything else is offensive.
Okay. What's their least favorite? What's your guess?
Does Death Proof count? Guaranteed bottom.
Okay. Don't tell us yet, Tokyo. We'll hear the comments, and then we'll see how Hubert did.
Fair.
My guess, just glancing at it when I was putting it all together, but I wasn't doing the math,
Inglorious is gonna win.
Was Hateful Eight was pretty down there too, but we'll see. All right. Spencer Harding's favorite was Kill Bill 2. I love how ridiculous it all is, and the death of Bill is so over the top. It's phenomenal. Oh yeah, probably we're just gonna spoil pretty much
All
every
of it.
Quentin Tarantino movie.
5-point palm exploding heart technique is one of the coolest things of all time.
It
Cover
really
your ears, Noah. Cover your ears, Noah.
cover your ears, yeah. Oh, Noah's got an amazing comment in here. Jacob Parker, Inglorious Bastards, followed very, very closely by Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, rounds out the top 3. Katie Garza, favorite Quarantino movie has got to be Death Proof. In your face, Huber.
Wow.
Watching the juxtaposition between a group of women in the first half and the group of women in the second half is great. Although on rewatches, I do see the sexist undertones, which I think is maybe the point because it's a pseudo-exploitative film. Yeah, I think it's hard to... That's something I want to talk about with Tarantino. Kind of hard to tell sometimes if the problematic stuff is on purpose or if it's just problematic.
He'll keep you guessing.
He'll keep you guessing. He will keep you guessing.
Don't they just leave Mary Elizabeth Winstead with that like weirdo?
Yes, they do. They leave it like she's clearly going to be assaulted by this psycho. They trade their friend
For a car.
for a car. I forgot about that.
Same, yeah, same.
Oh my god.
I
saw that movie once.
I've been meaning to rewatch Planet Terror for like 8 years, man.
Yeah.
I remember being obsessed with that movie.
I loved it as a kid. I remember loving the missing reel thing. Like, they're about to have a sex scene, and then it's this reel missing, and then the entire building is on fire. That is a good bit. Yeah, because it feels like, 10 minutes gone. There you go. That's a reel. I last time I saw either of those, I think, was when I saw the double feature in theaters.
So fun with the trailers in between.
Oh my god, the fake trailers are probably the best part. I think we
Amazing.
left and we were like, the trailers were probably better than the movies. They were both great though.
Eli Roth, Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
I still want that to be a real movie. And then that's where Machete came from too, right?
Machete
Yep,
became a
Machete.
real movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen.
So cool.
There was a Red Letter Media, I think, where I saw that there's that horror Thanksgiving turkey slasher movie, I think. I can't remember what it's called. Gobbler or something.
I believe I've probably seen that, actually.
I would not be surprised. Zach Wojnar says, until recently, my favorite Tarantino was Django Unchained, but I've had to revise that to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which immediately became one of my favorite movies of all time.
Dude,
Maybe I'm just a 60s guy, but he really recreated that whole world that just doesn't exist, while telling a story about heroes and villains in a way that is bittersweet, sentimental, morbid, and hopeful, all at the same time.
I really connect with Tarantino through my dad.
Yeah.
And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was like such a bonding experience with my dad. Like, that is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love, love, love that movie. Just settling into that movie. It's like a blanket.
You settle in. It settles into a time period better than I think a lot of movies do. And then you get the ending, which is, his hilarious alternate history kind of thing. What were you going to say, sorry?
I think that it's a weird movie because one of the patrons brought up that there's two patron comments. I think one was XWF, and I can't remember who the other one was. Maybe it was Noah. She's like, I had no idea what the context of this was, so it just seemed like nothing was happening for 3 hours.
I actually put that comment right here. Noah, they said, Once Upon a Time in the West was my first Tarantino movie, but because we're all Zoomers, me and my friends didn't know who Charles Manson was or what he did, so we spent the entire 3-hour runtime wondering what the hell was happening. 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, it's such a weird movie because it's completely based on your
own knowledge
of context.
Yeah.
And like, if you know what the deal is, like what the real history of the story of Charles Manson and the Manson family and those murders, like that entire middle part of that movie is nothing but ratcheting up the tension.
Yeah.
Like, you see her just going along, about her life, and you're like, she is a actual clock ticking down, a timer ticking down to
Yeah.
the end of the movie, and you're like the
So
physical
uneasy.
embodiment of this person. You know, something terrible happens to you at the end of this movie.
Well, and like the Brad Pitt scene, like I wonder how, like I want to ask Noah what they thought of the Brad Pitt scene at the ranch or whatever, because it's like, was there tension for you if you didn't know that this was a cult? Like, I think the movie probably puts the tension in because it's like things seem weird, but yeah, without the context.
I mean, even knowing it was the cult, I was like, Brad Pitt's fine.
Oh, I thought he might. I thought he
He's
might
gonna take
bite
these
it.
people
I
out.
thought he might bite it right
Near
there.
the end, I was like, dude, Brad Pitt. No, Brad Pitt. Oh, Brad Pitt.
There was a nice moment. Again, spoilers, but there was a nice moment when I wasn't sure which version of history we were gonna get out of Once Upon a Time.
Totally.
Pleased to get the one that we got, but yeah.
And that's the thing about a lot of Quentin Tarantino movies in general, is that even if you know like the things that he's referencing, even like pop culture references or references from other movies or historical references, you actually never really know what's going to happen until it happens, because he is completely unconcerned with historical accuracy or accuracy in anything. It's because of his understanding of the events and the undertones of the pop culture references he's making or references to other movies that he is able to like weave those things into his own story and make them his.
The first watch is always so fun because you never know what to expect, and then subsequent watches, piecing it all together is its own thing. Yeah,
and seeing the foreshadowing and stuff. Well, it's funny, and Tokyo, I think in your comment in the Patreon post, you said something to this effect, but like he's a remix artist, kind of like he's the girl talk of film. You know, he's taking a lot of influences and in some cases direct samples from things and remixing them, in ways that are surprising and fun. And I think there's an interactive element to his films that maybe my favorite part. And they involve the audience in different ways depending, like you said, on your knowledge of the context, especially in his like quote unquote historical films. But even in Pulp Fiction, just like how well you're following the timeline and like the characters and then subsequent rewatches, informs the movie. Watching Pulp Fiction for the 5th time is way different than watching it for the first time, All right, Brisket says that they got to see Inglorious Bastards in theaters. Me and my friend Hunter snuck in. I was like 12 or 13 at the time. We were talking during the film, of course, and this man ahead of us let us know that he wouldn't rat us out as long as we remained quiet. We didn't talk for the rest of the film. It was great.
that is an amazing story.
That's so funny. I could just picture that guy like turning around. He's like, "Look,
Yeah,
I know you're not supposed to be in here.
So sick.
I won't tell anyone if you just be quiet."
10 out of 10.
Such an old man. I do that kind of stuff all the time. It might as well have been me at this point. With just like the fact that Inglorious Bastards was like their first movie and they were 13, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so old.
Yeah, what year did that come out? I'm trying to think. How old was I when that came out?
Dude, that was like mid 2000s, 2008, 9.
Oh yeah, I was out of college, but
Something.
if it was that late. David Geis says, being a big fan of him, you might think it would be difficult for me to pick a favorite, but it really is not. Pulp Fiction is my favorite by quite a wide margin. I think even if, for whatever reason, you don't like it, you have to agree that it's one of the most influential movies of the last 30 years, and at least among the all-time greats, a true modern must-see movie.
Nice.
I really like that comment.
Yeah, I like
love
that
it.
too.
I love that comment. I love that movie. I just love the writing. Just the screenplay of that movie is next level.
It is
peak Tarantino.
really, really good.
It is infinitely rewatchable. It is in that category for me with, the Terminator 2s and the Back to the Futures and that kind of untouchable, will stand the test of time forever kind of movie.
It's a classic, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a classic. I need to rewatch it. It's been a few years.
It was my first Tarantino movie. I watched it, and I watched it with my dad, and he is currently he's much older than this, but like he was like a 65-year-old mainly Japanese speaking man at this point. And we watched it and I turned it off and I was like, well, what did you think? And he's like, I didn't understand a damn thing they just said. It was like always going to be, that's like my dad, Tarantino moment. I also have a signed copy of the Pulp Fiction screenplay
nice.
from Samuel Jackson signed it.
Oh, nice.
I don't have Tarantino's signature. I've never met the man, but that's one of my prized possessions. I always love
so awesome.
Love bringing that one out.
I quote it with my dad all the time. Somehow, Pulp Fiction always gets quoted consistently.
The thing with the dialogue, especially in that movie, is that like a lot of people in the comments brought up his dialogue and the way he writes dialogue.
Yeah.
It's interesting because every line of dialogue is both subtext, like laden conflict, and also like a promise of something interesting coming up.
Yeah.
You know, like the very beginning of that movie when they're talking about the foot rubs, like you're like, where are they going with this? You know, you find out that like, you know, Marcellus Wallace threw this guy out a 4-story window for giving his wife a foot massage, and they're talking about how like, you know, how foot massages either are or aren't, you know, like an intimate thing. And Samuel Jackson's character is like, it's not a big deal, man. And then Vincent Vega's like, would you give a guy a foot massage? And that was the end, like that was the trump card he played, you know? And you're like, well, I guess it is an intimate thing. And like the reason why he's talking about it and asking these questions about Marcellus Wallace's wife is that Marcellus Wallace said, hey, I'm going out of town. Take care of my wife for the evening. Go out and have fun with her or whatever. And he's just like freaking out about what he should be doing.
Yeah.
And like that's like the intro into that entire section of the movie is, you know, man, if I screw up or if I'm like rude to her or she doesn't like me, I could get tossed out a window. You know, like, and a lot of people don't realize like every single thing in his movies is like explaining the conflict that is about to happen.
Right. Which is such a fun tactic, I guess, in screenwriting. And I mean, it's a good thing to take note of. I mean, like have joked before that Quentin Tarantino is like just a perennial film student, which in a lot of ways is true, but also just like feels like that guy from film school who was trying to be Quentin Tarantino, you know? It's like he just is Quentin Tarantino.
Right.
But like,
man, Tarantino, that guy's trying to be so Tarantino.
He's so Tarantino.
If you go to film school to learn how to be Quentin Tarantino, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
You got to go work in a video store.
Yeah. You just got to watch a lot of movies and listen to a lot of commentary tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Cesar Villa says, Inglorious Bastards is his favorite. The tension in all the movie was almost unbearable, only to have it peak at that infernal theater scene where Hitler gets so many bullets directly to the head. Damn. I couldn't believe my eyes when I watched it.
Like,
yeah, that was the first... What?
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, that was the first time he, like, so brazenly was just like, nah, fuck it. Like,
yeah.
not in my universe.
It's like maybe
wrong.
my favorite moment of all of his movies. I mean, how do you
That
top
part?
that? How do you top that?
I'll tell you how you top that with the beginning scene of that movie and the bar scene of that movie.
Yes.
To me, like, those are
Hans
two of
Landa.
maybe his best scenes ever.
Totally.
And, like, the rest of the movie is, like, pretty good, but those two scenes are, like, triple S tier.
Yeah.
And, like, they're so good that they make the rest of that movie, like, worse somehow for me. Like, it's weird. Like, the rest of the movie is, like, an A or B, but, like, those two scenes are just so phenomenally perfect.
100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Again, too, like, Tarantino's penchant for discovering or highlighting heretofore unknown actors, you know, Christoph Waltz was just, like, languishing in like Germany doing like soap operas and TV stuff, and they had this exhaustive search for a multilingual German, you know, person who could portray the character that he wrote for this movie. And if they couldn't find the guy, Tarantino would just be like, I'm just going to publish the script and not make the movie.
Wow.
And they searched for like 3 months or something, and they found him, and
one for the ages.
And he's like this brilliant actor. He's
like
good.
a household name.
Yeah.
And like I remember too the time that came out, like I remember hearing, "Oh my God, Tarantino's gonna do a war movie? What the hell?"
We were all very confused.
Yeah, and like I remember being like confused, but like so here for it, because it's like, wow, if Tarantino is gonna like kill anyone violently, let it be Nazi scum.
Yeah.
Tarantino unleash.
Well, and there was a weird rumor. I remember a weird rumor before it came out that it was going to, like, everyone kept saying he's doing a war movie, but everyone kept thinking it was going to be, like, serious and, like Saving Private Ryan or something, and everyone was like, what? And then it came out, and everyone was like, oh, okay.
It's like Tarantino thing.
Yeah. We're all right.
Well, and it's also almost not a war movie. It's a revenge movie set during World War II.
Totally.
But it really has very little to do with the actual war. It's about, the woman who's getting revenge against the SS for murdering her whole family, and Brad Pitt's character, essentially just going ham on a bunch of, officers he's finding in the woods and just like murdering them all.
The bear Jew hype.
Plus, I think about Brad Pitt saying "Gorlami" like all the time. I think about that like weekly.
If you rewatch that scene too, there's a lot like a subtext that people miss on their first watching. On a first watching, you think that Hans Landa is like kind of testing them to find out whether or not they're, he knows from the second he sees them from the balcony, and he is mocking them the entire conversation.
Right.
And he knows who they are, and like he knows they're spies, and he is just like, because the one guy says his name correctly, he's like, "Good job, good for you." Like he is just making fun of these people, like for how bad of spies they are.
Well, and that's like, there's like a meta part to that too, because on your first watching, like, I think Tarantino aims a lot of his stuff maybe at American audiences specifically, but like he probably was like, you dopes in the American audience are gonna just be like, yeah, they're getting away with it, like our badass heroes, and it's like, nah.
No.
Varun Kachwaha says favorite film is Kill Bill. It's just a film you can watch again and again, and I think the action in the film is the best that he's directed, and the characters are so memorable. Project DAD says Django, even though I didn't need to see Jamie Foxx dangle his own Django. I don't mind it.
The Bride is probably my favorite Tarantino character. If we're talking about characters, Bride is love Beatrix Kiddo, dude. Let's go.
She's good. I'm not gonna bleep that.
Yeah.
Another very revenge-heavy movie.
Yep.
And it's
a lot of his movies are very revenge.
A lot of them are. The thing is Kill Bill has always been really weird to me, because like on its surface, it's like his kind of love letter to Chinese martial arts movies and cinema, but it's basically a straight up Western.
Yeah.
And it's like the fusion of those two was, at that point in time was like, what is this? Why are you playing Sergio Leone over a katana fight?
Right.
What is happening right now?
Which makes more sense, because someone brought it up in the comments, but he brought Sukiyaki Western to Django to America, or put it out, which was a fun movie. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I want to kind of segue briefly into this. Amongst his many forays into pop culture, he has brought more foreign cinema into the U.S. or the North American market than pretty much anybody else I know of. Like, was it Rolling Thunder? Was his label under Miramax?
Oh.
They brought over Wong Kar-wai's Chungking Express. They brought over Lucio Fulci's Zombie, I think. And then like a bunch Sonantine came over for the first time.
Nice, it's a good one.
Like he basically, like in the early to mid 90s, introduced America to Wong Kar-wai.
Yeah.
You know, and like just because he respected that cinema and was familiar enough with it to like say, hey, this will play in the US. Like people will like this movie. I'm gonna bring this over. And Miramax, I can go off on a tangent, but I won't, but like regardless of any of the horrific things that Harvey Weinstein did.
Yeah.
Putting Quentin Tarantino in charge of his own division and saying, you have free reign to bring pop culture that you love into our culture from other cultures was a thing that I will always respect Quentin Tarantino for.
Yeah.
Specifically, because I checked out Chungking Express for the first time from a video store, and it was a Rolling Thunder, released film. And
did that one have the Quentin Tarantino Presents in front
did.
of it? Because I remember a lot of a lot of those had that.
Yeah, like Detroit 9000 also, which is kind of a forgotten American cinema. And then there's a whole bunch of them. Like he was just responsible for just like unleashing all of this stuff that he loved on America, and it was, that's one of the ways in which he's influenced pop culture and art in the U.S.
Yeah.
Film preservation.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I haven't been to the New Beverly actually, which is kind of a shame because I've lived in LA for almost 10 years, but I need to go over there.
I've been like 4 times. It's a weird theater. It's kind of like it's an offset seating. So like the center row is like a little offset, and then like I think it's the far right hand row is like you're way off to the side, and then the left hand side is like I don't know. It's a weird setup. I saw some very strange movies there.
If once the quarantine is over, I think I'm gonna sign up for the Alamo Drafthouse subscription thing.
I wish there was one up here.
That just seems like so much fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's try to get through these real quick here.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Oh no, this is all great. I'm just.
How many we got?
I want to get everybody in. Colt Smith, favorite is True Romance and Inglorious Bastards. True Romance because it's a wonderfully written character study. Brad Pitt is the best. Uses Brad Pitt in the best way possible, and Val Kilmer has a cameo. Bastards just because it sets your soul on fire with action, character drama, ridiculous gore, and killing Nazis. What more can you want? Colin Goodspeed. That name makes me think. What movie does that name?
Goodspeed.
The Rock. Your
Body
name
can do
means
that,
Godspeed.
Body can vaporize.
Oh yeah. The Rock, dude. What a stupid. I love that movie. Colin Goodspeed. The Tarantino film I return to most is Inglorious Bastards. I think it's a masterwork. Sorry, I'm going to truncate these a little more. Mark Varley says Jackie Brown, his most mature film with better, more complex characterization and violence that doesn't satisfy gorehounds, but ultimately seems more shocking.
Dude, the De Niro parking lot scene, all I'm going to say.
Oh, yeah. I have a special place in my heart for Robert Forster because...
Hell yeah, dude. Max Cherry, dude. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
Max
dude.
Cherry.
My friend Elric and I, who I haven't seen Elric in a few years, but I edited a short film with him. He directed it, called Tender. Check it out. But I think he might have met Tarantino. He might know Tarantino, actually, now that I think about it. But we used to go eat at this place called the Silver Spoon in West Hollywood, which was apparently Robert Forster's like hangout. He was there like every time. And no one ever bothered him. He was just there, like, reading stuff.
Oh,
it was
so
awesome. Yeah, it was awesome.
Love Max Cherry.
Max Cherry.
Darren Mifsud, Kill Bill Epic. There's a grandeur to that movie that manages to have fun with itself. XWF Outlaw. Favorite is Inglorious Bastards. Hands down, Hans Landa, I suppose, is one of, if not the... Oh, Bender keeps tooting right next to me. Bender, what did you eat? Yeah, I forgot where I was. And then I'll rip through these least favorites real quick, because then I want to hear your collated...
Collating.
The collation. Noah, they said, I have weird feelings about Inglorious Bastards, but I think it's I just find most movies or TV about Nazism or the Holocaust pretty uncomfortable. That's a whole other thing. But they don't think that Tintin Quetzalcoatl is their style. Which, hey, no sweat. Katie Garza, I'm not a fan of Hateful Eight. By far the least favorite of his films. Zach Wojnar, haven't seen it since I saw it in 70mm in the theater, but Hateful Eight didn't gel with me. Project Dad From Dusk Till Dawn, which he's just in and maybe produced. I think he might have co-written it with...
Possibly. Robert Rodriguez and him are
Rodriguez, yeah.
They're like, thick as thieves. They
Two peas in a pod.
sometimes they stand in for each other, uncredited, and you never really know.
I count it as his B squad part of movies, but I love that movie, man.
The scene in Pulp Fiction that Tarantino's acting in was directed by Rodriguez.
Oh, that makes sense. I think I've told the story before, but From Dusk Till Dawn was the example that my screenwriting teacher back in film school used to be like, don't do this. Like, it sets up all this stuff and then just abandons it. And then I was I was just like, yo, sometimes you just go in the wrong bar, man.
That's the good part of the movie.
That happens. That's the best part of that movie. It just is shocking because it lets it go. Jacob Parker says Django Unchained. Couldn't handle a single frame of that movie. Just wanted it to end. Mark Varley. Least favorite is Death Proof, easily by a country mile. David Geis. Hateful Eight, least favorite. Cesar Villa, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm sorry, I'm that guy. The movie just felt so long, boring, and empty. The only tense scene was Brad Pitt at the ranch, and then nothing happens. The ending cannot redeem it. That Sharon Tate event has caused me so much sadness since I first found out about it that I almost feel Tarantino mocked it by having his characters being attacked and kill the perpetrators like that. It was... I was, trepidatious going into that movie because, back in school, we read about that stuff and I think Easy Riders or whatever that book was. I knew all about it, the ins and outs, and then Polanski being such a monster or whatever. It's just I was like, is this too sensitive to make a movie about? And for me, right. For me, at the end of the day, I think Once Upon a Time, it's so clear that he's making a caricature of it and making an alternate history that he wishes happened. It's clear that he loves Sharon Tate's story and respects it,
Yeah, he brought the sister in, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. And initially the sister was not into it, and then Tarantino met with her.
Which is weird because that, to me, highlights even further the biggest glaring problem with Once Upon a Time is the treatment of Bruce Lee. Because I think that he does him dirty, man. I think he does him dirty in that movie.
Totally.
My knee-jerk reaction to that, being also a huge Bruce Lee fan and living, several miles from where he and Brandon are buried.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I visit them kind of once a year, just leave some flowers or whatever. But I think that a lot of Bruce Lee is rightfully mythologized.
Yeah.
And kind of heightened. I think that the real person he was is something that you can only learn from the people who were closest to him and will tell his story to you. I think a lot of what happened in Inglorious Bastards did do him dirty, but I think it was also clearly a heightened, a fantasy version of the 1960s or whatever anyway.
Yeah.
And it was clearly Once Upon a Time in is the start of a fantasy, right?
Right.
And while I disagree with I don't believe that is an accurate portrayal of what Bruce Lee was actually on set, I'm not gonna split hairs over it because it serves the point of the story to where you have to understand that Cliff Booth or whatever his name is, the stuntman that
I
Brad
think
Pitt
that's
plays,
right. Yeah,
that he is essentially kind of on the same level as Bruce Lee, and physically,
Right.
like you have to understand that in order for the rest of the movie to kind of make sense.
Yeah, the utility of him beating up Bruce Lee
Right.
in that scene is to sell the end of the movie,
Right.
for sure. So
And
it's
it
like,
makes sense that way, and it's a story-based decision. And while I didn't like it immediately upon watching it, I've rewatched it since, and I'm like, I don't really have a problem with it. I would just kind of wish it didn't happen, but
Yeah.
like since
Yeah.
it did happen,
I
I'm
read
like,
it. I read it like
whatever.
Tarantino clearly thinks Bruce Lee is a fraud, and that's why he did it. Because if he didn't think he was a fraud, there's a way to take away the exact same thing from that scene, and that's make Brad Pitt seem like a badass.
right.
If you're going toe to toe in a tie versus Bruce Lee, you're a badass.
Right.
So like they could have easily tied, and it would have been like, holy shit, Brad Pitt can like fight Bruce Lee. Whoa.
If you go back and rewatch it, Huber, that's what happens. Is it ends in a tie. The first interaction between them,
Because he was taking him for granted a little bit.
ends up with
underestimating him. Yeah.
Bruce Lee kicking him, and then the second one, he does it again. And Cliff Booth throws him into the car, and they're about to do the third, the tiebreaker, and they get interrupted. So it essentially was a tie.
Nice. Okay.
I think I think what the reason it doesn't feel like a tie though is the dialogue, because it it makes Bruce Lee look kind of like a fool.
Right.
And I heard
he definitely
someone
comes off that way.
I heard someone say that Bruce Lee like had to talk a big game to like kind of as part of like making it, at that period in time, like you gotta talk yourself up because no one else is gonna do it, kind of. But I don't know how. Yeah, I don't really know. How true any of that is.
It's impossible to say. Like he was always getting challenged to fights and stuff.
Oh, I bet.
And who knows how he dealt with that? Like like somebody comes up to you and starts talking a bunch of crap and like whatever Kato or whatever.
Yeah.
Like how would he react to that? Nobody really knows. And this is obviously an interpretation of that. I think that he did come off as kind of a dick, like full of himself or whatever. But again, I'm not like super mad about it.
And the line that they used in the trailer is a pretty funny line. Like when he says like, my hands are classified as weapons. If I get in a fight and accidentally kill a man, I go to jail. And then Brad Pitt's like, anybody kills somebody in a fight, they go to jail. It's called manslaughter.
Yeah.
All right, so we've heard the favorites and the least favorites, and you collated a rough list.
I did.
What are the patrons' rough ranking of the movies by your estimation?
Huber, prepare to be disappointed. Inglorious Bastards is number one.
Yeah.
Which is a weird one for me. It's not my personal favorite. I think it has two of the best scenes in a Tarantino movie. I love, like you said, Ian, I love the opening scene, and I love the bar scene. They're masterful.
Yeah.
Kill Bill, I clumped them all together because some people did and some people didn't. But if you like the first one and don't really hate the second one, and you didn't say you hated the second one, I counted them all together. Kill Bill's number 2. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, number 3.
Wow.
And then there's a 3-way tie. Jackie Brown, Pulp Fiction, and True Romance.
Huh.
I did not count my own personal True Romance vote on this list because I knew I was going to be doing this, so my list will be later.
Yeah.
And it is not on my list because I don't count it as a Quentin Tarantino movie. So there you go.
For our list, we did directed by only.
Yeah. Where's Reservoir Dogs on that list?
Later. Django Unchained is next. Then Death Proof.
Wow.
Above Reservoir Dogs?
Above Reservoir Dogs?
How is this possible?
How is this possible?
Who wrote this list?
The
patrons. I did. Collated from the patrons. And like the methodology was like the ones that people voted for are very high. The ones that people voted against subtracted votes from those ones. The ones that nobody voted for are kind of in the middle, and the ones that people hate are at the bottom. So just to explain that. Let's say Death Proof was the last one. Then we have a 4-way tie. Reservoir Dogs, Four Rooms, Natural Born Killers, Sin City.
None of those except Reservoir Dogs to me counts.
Yeah.
And then From Dusk Till Dawn, second to last, and The Hateful Eight is the most disliked Tarantino movie.
Yeah. So, Huber, you thought it'd be Pulp Fiction at the top, and which one at the bottom? Death Proof?
Maybe I said Django.
I think you said Death
I think
Proof.
you said Death Proof.
Or
Yeah.
Death Proof. I did say Death Proof.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Death Proof was at the middle of the pack.
The fulcrum.
Dang. Dude, Reservoir Dogs that low. I'm pretty shocked.
I think a lot of people haven't seen it. I think it's
Yeah.
old enough that where people haven't seen it.
Dude, that is a sick movie.
It's
It-
pretty
it
nar-nar.
is.
It is a cool ass, hard boiled crime thriller.
And if you watch it and like it, then go watch Ringo Lam's City on Fire.
City on fire!
Fire! Oh, the inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, part of it is the inspiration. Like the second half of the movie is the inspiration for it. The first half is Tarantino's like, I don't need to even do this part of the movie. I'm just gonna skip it.
I didn't even know about that one.
He's like, why show the bank robbery? It's pointless.
Sure. All right, so
I
before
love
we
a
get
good
to our
jewelry
own lists, what'd you say, Huber?
I love a good jewelry heist.
Yeah, you do. What was that movie that we watched? That you had me. I had to like buy the Blu-ray for it. It has like a funny name. It was a heist movie.
Oh my god, Rafifi.
Rafifi, yeah.
Dude.
Rafifi
Love
is excellent.
Rafifi.
Yeah, Rafifi was very good.
I
Might be
love
streaming
that
on the
movie.
Criterion Network.
Probably, yeah.
Where was
I've got
that
the
when I had to
Criterion
Import a
DVD.
Blu-ray to watch that thing for Hubie boy. Before we get to our own personal lists, I had just a couple of other little quick questions that I thought might be interesting. I want to talk about how time has impacted his work. Like, does his stuff age well or not? Some comments here to springboard off of. Vrun Kachwaha says, I think time has and will impact his work favorably. The more time passes between films, the more I see those films being praised. It's a unique talent. His is a unique talent who makes very stylistic films with a signature flair. Very few filmmakers have that going for them. And I think when he does retire, his films will be missed that much more. Mark Varley.
Ian, I feel like they're timeless movies because they exist in the Tarantino realm of time.
Yeah.
Like when you jump into his movies, it's like you're watching a Tarantino movie. You're not watching a movie from the 90s or the 2000s.
Well, it's funny because Project Dad says most of the time I feel like they're 90s movies, no matter when they were made. But it is, you hit the nail on the head, Hubert, because that's kind of the reason I asked this question was I think that Tarantino messes with time on purpose and makes his movies feel like, even the ones that are period pieces, I think feel like they take place out of time in some weird way sometimes. Like, when does Kill Bill take place? I don't know. Like, and Inglorious Bastards is definitely more modern than 40s, you know? And even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood maybe is his most, like, faithfully in a period movie. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that's an interesting aspect of his stuff where they do feel like they're kind of anachronistic, like out of time and place.
One reason why a lot of people think that they all feel like 90s movies too is the fact that when Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction came out, immediately spawned dozens and dozens of copycat movies.
The
You got,
entire 90s was copying Tarantino. Yeah.
2 Days in the Valley, like you know, reindeer games or whatever. Like everything is Tarantino-esque.
It's like
you know,
Tarantino is to the 90s as the Matrix is to the early 2000s.
Right.
You remember when Tony Stark calls Loki reindeer games?
yes.
It's my favorite burn.
You remember when Ezekiel 25:17 is on the tombstone for
Fury?
Nick Fury?
Yeah. 25:17. Dude.
That's funny. I never realized that. That's really funny.
So many Tarantino references in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
They're all fans. What's my hair doing?
Being awesome.
It just keeps growing taller and taller as the day goes on.
Something about your doing that to your hair made me think of Mystery Train for some reason, because that guy always like slicks his hair back, right? I don't know, whatever. I don't know why. I was looking at that movie on Criterion Collection last night.
I love a good
probably
slicked backed hair villain.
Well, yeah. Have you seen Mystery Train, Hubert? You would like that
No.
movie.
I've never seen it.
Have you seen that, Tokyo Slim?
Jim
Jim Jarmusch movie?
Oh, yeah, I think I did because I watched like all of the Jarmusch movies at whatever. I think when was it? Not Coffee and Cigarettes, but the one with Bill Murray, Broken Flowers came out.
Oh, yeah.
I watched like all of the Jarmusch movies,
Yeah.
and I realized that I hate Jim Jarmusch movies.
I love Mystery Train. The Dead Don't Die is garbage.
Yeah,
This is a horrible, horrible film.
I actually did see that at the film festival last year, and I was kind of excited for it because I love everybody who's in that movie.
Yeah.
And then I realized that everybody who's in that movie is just kind of phoning it in.
Well, the whole script was fun.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
I think
Is
I've
Adam
actually
Dri-
talked about that movie on here before.
I
Is the
think
Adam
we have.
Driver one good?
I haven't. That's one of the few Jarmusch movies I haven't seen, but I've heard it's really good. Patterson, I think it's
I
good.
love the premise. I love
Yeah.
a good melancholic, sad man.
Poetry reading bus driver, I think.
I think Adam Driver was the best part of Dead Don't Die. I think
Oh, yeah.
his constant breaking of the fourth wall and like the weird song thing on the radio is like pretty much the only interesting part of that movie.
It just felt very whatever. It doesn't matter. But I love Jim Jarmusch. But
I love Adam Driver.
yeah. What are some common threads amongst Quentin Tarantino?
Revenge.
Revenge, alt history.
Shocking violence.
Would you kindly list that out a lot? Trunk POV, corpse POV, God's POV, tracking sneeze, 360 sneeze, black and white. I'm not sure what he means by that.
360 sneeze.
I'm gonna be honest. That entire comment like baffled me a little bit. Like,
360 sneeze.
I'm not sure he
Feet-
was topically in the same room as any of the rest of us.
Well,
and I love that.
Yeah, I loved it. I think because the way I wrote, I was in a real weird place when I wrote this prompt. It's mostly nonsense. So I think he was just playing along. They were just playing along with that. But definitely feet is a through line. Dance, torture, Mexican standoffs, definition opener. Oh, just like a big time opener. Big Kahuna Burger, Red Apple cigarettes, of course, and names. I didn't say that Jacob Parker is the one who mentioned alt history. Alexander Zirinov, just the dialogue is really great. Project DAD, humanity and what it's capable of. Definitely a through line. All right. Before we get to the what else do we talk about and the quote challenge to finish things up here, let's give our lists, our own personal lists. Who wants to go first? Tokyo Slim, you want to go first?
Sure. I will go 10-1.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yeah. Worst to best.
Worst to best. Hateful Eight. I think a lot of the reason I don't like the Hateful Eight is because of outside influences, things out of the control of Tarantino. I saw it in 70 millimeter the weekend after I saw The Revenant in 70 millimeter, and I thought that I was still thinking about The Revenant the entire time I was watching that movie.
Yeah.
And it just fell way short for me of anything I was expecting or hoping that it would be. It's like 70 millimeter, but the entire thing takes place in like one cabin. So you're like, the opening is, panoramic and beautiful for like 5 minutes. And then you're in this room for the rest of the movie. And I'm like,
Is it
not what I wanted.
Is it true that it was conceived as a play? Is that real?
I don't know
Yes.
for sure.
Hateful Eight was?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that shows. It makes
Yeah.
sense.
Then my second least favorite is Death Proof. I think that structurally it suffers for me because you start the movie, you go 20 minutes in, that movie ends, and then you start it over again. The original five girls are all dead, and then you start over with a new five girls, and you kind of like, I get why he did that, but
He's trying to pull a Psycho.
yeah, it's just clumsily done, and I don't like the whole like trading your friend in for a car kind of deal never really sat well with me.
Even when I was way less woke than I am now, even as a sexist teenager or whatever, I was like, or whenever that movie came out, I was like, hey, that isn't cool. They traded their friend for a car to an obvious like monster man.
I will say that Zoe Bell, the stuntwoman turned actress,
my god, yeah,
is amazing in that. And
that whole chase is awesome.
Yeah, the clinging on the roof or the hood of the cars, it's going like they're going at speed, and I really like that stuff.
That was great.
After that, I think Inglorious Bastards is my third least favorite. And like I said earlier, while I really love certain scenes in that movie, I think as a whole, I think it just suffers as a whole for me. Then Kill Bill, and I like a lot of Kill Bill, and there's some parts of Kill Bill that I think are just okay. Like the buried alive part is not really my thing.
Yeah,
that seemed like it went on for too long to me. I don't know. It was all right. And let's see. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, kind of in the middle of the pack for me. I really enjoyed it. I think it is real long, and I think that it does require you to have certain contextual knowledge that some people just don't have, and I think that's kind of a shortcoming of the movie in a way. Or I guess, I mean, in some cases not, but like I think that it asks of you to know certain things about history. Reservoir Dogs. For a first film, it doesn't really get much better than that.
Yeah.
The level of acting, the talent that he assembled for all of his movies is really like it all starts there. You got Keitel been in several of his movies. You got, Buscemi. You got
shout out to his casting director.
Yeah,
straight up.
Michael Madsen. You got everybody. Like the whole casting of all of his movies is outstanding, and that's like kind of where he just cemented that it was going to be one of his things. Pulp Fiction is great. It is a great film. You can literally teach a college course on how many references to older films, Psycho, Fellini is 8.5. Like the movie is jam packed with references that, unless you are a serious, video store nerd, you might miss a lot of them. Even if you are, you might miss some of them.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is one of the all-time greats. I don't really mince any words saying that. Uma Thurman is amazing. It resurrected John Travolta's career, which could be a positive or negative depending on how you think about the rest of his career. But at the time, that was a great performance from John Travolta.
Yeah.
I don't know, that one of my personal favorites, but not my all-time favorite. My all-time favorite Quentin Tarantino movie that he directed is Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
I love the fact that, this is the deal, is Pam Grier was supposed to be in Pulp Fiction as the dealer's wife that I think Rosanna Arquette played, Jodie with all the shit in her face or whatever. And Tarantino wanted to cast her for that, but then realized that she's not the kind of person that would be pushed around or yelled at in the scene believably, because she's a very imposing figure. Pam Grier's she's a I don't want to say a lot of women, because that sounds like a negative thing, but she is a handful of woman right there. You do not push Pam Grier around in a scene where she's in your way. You don't shove her out of the way. She shoves you out of the way.
Yeah.
And so Tarantino's I'm going to make a movie for you. And Jackie Brown was that movie. And he kept in contact with her for years after Pulp Fiction. And she didn't believe that he was writing a movie for him until she got the script. She thought he was messing with her. And it's such kind of an understated, low key movie, but also like a lot of the things that I hold dear and a lot of things that I know Huber likes. It's a heist movie. It's it's like one of those like who's got the thing is here, the thing is there. You don't actually know like who's got the money. You don't know how the plot's going to come together until it's over. You don't know like the full extent of it. It's like I love all of that. I think that Robert De Niro gives a fantastic performance as kind of an idiot, and it's a role that you don't see him playing a lot of.
Yeah.
He is just kind of a dunce in this movie, and I love that performance. And this is kind of like the last thing he did before he started playing Robert De Niro in all of these movies.
Right.
Like it was great. That was a great film, and that's my favorite.
I actually met Pam Grier one time back at theater school, I think, and yeah, she was very imposing but super nice. Yeah. She was so nice. So it made that movie even more special to me. Huber, do you have yours? Do you know?
Sure, yeah. The bottom is Death Proof. Actually, you know what? I want to start from the top because I love legit every single one of Tarantino's movies. He's one of the very few directors where I love legitimately every single one of his movies, even the ones on the very bottom. Number one, Pulp Fiction, hands down. Just a timeless classic that is infinitely rewatchable, as I said earlier. Just the script, the characters, the entire 40 minutes of Travolta and Uma Thurman in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
Just mesmerizing. Transportive. Number two has got to be Kill Bill. I bridge them together.
Yeah, I'm surprised that's number two. Wow.
Yeah, Uma Thurman in that, and I just love the journey. The anime vibes. I love a good faction. Her going for revenge against each character. I just love that setup. Number three, Inglorious Bastards. His modern masterpiece. His probably. I think it's his second best movie to Pulp Fiction, but it's my third favorite.
Sure.
Just like you were saying earlier, just incredible. Couple of those scenes. Next would be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I love this movie. I love the feeling of this movie. Not very many movies can fully take me inside of them into its warm bosom. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood does that.
I don't know why I knew you were going to say warm bosom right there, but I knew you were going to say warm bosom.
Then next is Reservoir Dogs. Love this movie. Just raw and gritty in every sense of the word. It is really fun checking out master filmmakers' origins. You go back and again, you watch Kronos or Devil's Backbone with Guillermo. You watch Memento from Nolan.
Yeah.
Just when you give these masters no budget and all they have is their passion, magic happens. Next up, Jackie Brown. Love this movie too. This is also a movie just that you can really settle into. Can be slow at parts, admittedly, but that's not a criticism. I think there's a beauty in the slowness to Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
And then all I have left is Hateful Eight. Yep, Hateful Eight, and then Death Proof.
I don't think you mentioned Django.
Django above Hateful Eight, and then Hateful Eight, and then Death Proof. Yeah, Django, Hateful Eight.
I don't know that I mentioned Django either. I somehow skipped it. I think Django's right above Inglorious Bastards for me.
Nice.
Okay, I'll start.
Candyland. Leo, shout out. Shout out to Leo being a creep.
I guess I'll start at the top too, because I think the end is more surprising than the beginning. So my favorite Tarantino, in my case, because it basically mirrors Huber. My favorite is Pulp Fiction. followed by Jackie Brown. There's like tied almost, like close. Then Reservoir Dogs. Then maybe a little bit of like for me the spacing, like Huber, I feel like your list is grouped all toward number one, you know. For me, like if it's on a 100-point scale, you know, like Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown are like 100. Reservoir Dogs is like 90. Then there's a gulf, like at like 80 is Inglorious Bastards. Almost entirely bolstered by those two scenes. I just think they're so phenomenally good. Then I kept switching back and forth, so they're probably both around 75, 60, 70. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then Kill Bill's 1 and 2.
Surprised you don't like Kill Bill as much. I totally thought you'd love that one.
I mean, I really, really like Kill Bill, and I had it above Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then I put it below Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So they're jockeying for fourth or fifth. But it's just been a long time since I've seen Kill Bill, and I only saw Hollywood once. So probably if I watched Kill Bill again, I think it would be above Hollywood. Then there's a pretty wide gulf. We're probably down into the 40s. Death Proof is fun, but kind of, you know. And to me, it even feels like he was just kind of like, we're making schlock on purpose.
Mm-hmm. And Planet Terror is so damn good.
And Planet Terror was just the better of the two, yeah.
God.
In theaters, I can't remember which one was first. I think it went Death Proof.
Terror.
Planet Terror was first? Yeah, and that didn't help Death Proof either.
No. Death Proof should have been first because it's slower, too.
Because it's worse, yeah. Hateful Eight is my second least favorite. Probably down at like a 35. And on the scale of his movies. I'm not saying it's like a 3 out of 10. That's not what I mean. Probably like a 4 out of 10. I mean, there are so many beautiful things in this movie. The soundtrack was just phenomenal.
Yes.
Finally got to actually work with Morricone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great. But yeah.
Shout out to Dreams coming true, right?
Yeah. But it just
that opening number.
It just felt and the overture, the overture and the intermission were so good. But it was too long, man, and it just I don't know. It was just kind of whatever. And then I don't know. I only saw it once. I've seen the end shootout a couple of times. I have a problem with Django. I've seen the original Django, and I really liked that. Have you ever seen that, Huber? You'd love that movie.
No, I have not seen any of that.
Oh, dude. He dragging a coffin around the whole movie. It's amazing.
So cool.
I mean, obviously Django Unchained has almost nothing to do with the original Django's, kind of.
He's in it, though.
Yeah. Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Yeah, at the bar.
Oh, that's right. I knew that. Yeah.
The D is silent. He's like, I know.
My main problem, I think, with Django Unchained is I think some of the other slave characters are caricaturized too heavily, and I'm not sure to what end. And then also I just think that he's not an active hero, Django, until the end. He doesn't do anything. He's just following Christoph Waltz around, and it's really, really weird to have this liberation movie just be these two white guys movie for 95% of it, until he comes out at the end and does. And I mean, maybe that's the point where it's even this movie, the representation is wrong. I don't know. But and I only saw it the once, so maybe I'm off base. My memory of it is wrong, but that was just my takeaway, that Django himself feels reactive instead of active until the very end, which I wish that it had been his story. Is my memory wrong?
I think I don't want to say it's wrong. Just saying that you haven't seen it in a long time, and maybe you're not remembering. But the main problem with Django Unchained is that the third act just keeps going for another hour. Yeah. After it should have ended. The shootout I think you're talking about is the shootout in the mansion, right?
When he shoots everyone at the house at the end. Yeah.
Right. That's an hour from the end.
Really?
Yeah, it's closer to the beginning of the third act, and it's weird.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird because you got all that like you have like the whole part where Quentin Tarantino's in it as like the slave or whatever, the Australian. That whole thing happens in like the end of the movie.
That's after that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Man, I haven't seen that movie in a while.
Yeah, my memory is all
It's been
skewed.
a minute.
While I agree that he is passive at the beginning of the movie, it's completely on purpose. And I think that if you look at it as if it's a superhero origin movie,
okay,
then it makes more sense to you, because what happens is he is oppressed in the beginning of the movie. He is a slave, and he doesn't even consider the fact that he could have any agency. And the entire first act of the movie and into the second act is Christoph Waltz teaching him to take his own agency back from the slaveholders and the white people who are oppressing him. My favorite moment in that movie is the moment where he shows up at like the orchard, wherever the slave quarters are, dressed in his blue, like whatever, like silk suit. That is his 100% superhero coming out moment. The pose he's in, he's like standing like a superhero, and he wrecks shop and he kills the three brothers. I don't remember their names.
Yeah.
And he whips the hell out of that one, the third brother. And that specific scene is directly in reference to the end of Roots.
Roots, yeah.
And Tarantino says, like, the end of Roots, like, broke me. Like, I wanted the guy to whip the slaveholders so bad. And when he didn't, I felt like I was cheated, because that revenge is deserved.
Yeah.
You know, that comeuppance is deserved at that point. And saying like, oh, if I whip you, I'm going to be just like you. No, you're not. Like, that is like you taking back your agency and taking your own identity back by force. That's the actual point in the movie where Django becomes like an actual, like,
where he's
fully
unchained.
formed. He becomes unchained in that moment, and that's not the end of the movie.
Right.
The end of the movie is like not good.
Right.
It should have ended during the house shootout.
Right.
It just didn't. And like, I guess
my memory was polluted by two things. I guess it's the fact that Christoph Waltz is the one who like teaches him or gives him permission to rebel. Like, I thought that should have not come from Christoph Waltz. You know, it should have come from within. And also, Christoph Waltz, I mean, it's a character flaw, but just like him losing his cool at the Candy Ranch or whatever, the mansion, and starting all that, like causing the whole ending. And I'm just like, dude, he just had no chill in that moment, which I know is like a character thing. But yeah, I mean, hearing you talk about it, I got to give that movie another shake. But
it's definitely a flawed film. But man, like, talk about like, you know, satisfying moments. You know, Christoph Waltz is like got the rifle. He's like, who is that guy? He's like, that's the third brother. Are you positive? He's like, I don't know. You don't know whether you're positive? I don't know what positive means. It's like, oh, are you sure that's the guy? He's like, oh yeah, that's the guy. And then he shoots him and he falls off the horse. Like, you have to realize, like, during that, you know, like that point in time, like, a person who started out a slave like Django doesn't know how to read, doesn't have a huge vocabulary, doesn't have any agency at all. He is a commodity, you know, essentially. And that's the horror of slavery. He wasn't even a person in the beginning of that movie. He was just a tool that people were using to farm.
And I guess the film treating him like that and making him a not an active participant is very on purpose in that way. Then yeah. All right. You've convinced me. I'll bump it above Hateful Eight.
Don't let me convince you. Go watch it for yourself and make up your own mind.
Well, yeah, I've got to do that eventually. But yeah, I mean,
that's just my take.
None of his movies, I'd say, are like, you know, bad, like garbage. Probably. All right. Little quick wrap-up stuff. I asked if there was anything else they'd like us to talk about. XWF Outlaw wanted to give a shout-out to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Watching it for the first time, I was enjoying the movie so much. It wasn't until the last 30 minutes of the movie that I remembered I was watching a Quentin Tarantino film. The complete opposite to the way I felt about Django, but not in a bad way. I appreciate the restraint to not make this another splatterfest and trying something different than what he has been pigeonholed into, instead making it more of a love letter to the golden age of Hollywood, set at a time where the era was near its end. I just thought that was a nice comment. Zach Wojnar, Don Johnson and James Remar are both in Django Unchained. Don Johnson is my favorite actor, and Miami Vice is the greatest show of all time, if you ask me. And one of the best episodes, Season 2's Buddies, guest stars James Remar as an old college/Vietnam buddy of Crockett's. So, like, even though they don't have any scenes together in Django, I bet Tarantino likes that episode too. It's good. You should watch it.
I love that Don.
Tarantino is the villain in Alias for a couple episodes. He's
Oh,
fantastic.
really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
I love that Don Johnson specifically is somebody's favorite actor.
Yeah,
that is so awesome.
That's a badass pull, yeah. Varun Kachwaha says, I want to try something. If I say, that was a horrible film, what film do you picture in your head, if any?
The number 27.
Oh my god, now that's all I can think about.
The Snowman.
Oh, I never saw that.
It is.
Is it 27?
The number or chapter 27 is also bad.
The number what?
The number 23.
23.
23.
You thinking of the Jim Carrey movie?
Yeah.
I was thinking chapter 27, the Jared Leto killing John
Never
Lennon
saw
movie. That movie is garb.
Number 23, dude.
The first movie that came to my head was Broken Arrow, but I remember liking
Dude, I
that.
loved Broken
I know.
Arrow.
I remember liking it. Like,
Speaking of John
Let's give
Travolta's
these guys a
career,
haircut.
right?
yeah, the Rock, Face Off, Con Air, and Broken Arrow are like
Yep.
forever joined in my head.
100%, Ian. I'm with you.
But
Those are
probably The
trousers right
Happening is
there.
the worst movie ever made. One of them.
Yeah,
The
happening. I agree.
Yeah.
It's up there. All right. What's a genre? Would You Kindly wants to ask, what genre do you guys want Tarantino to tackle next? Sci-fi, horror, fantasy?
Sci-fi.
Horror.
Sci-fi horror would be pretty good.
Yeah, I want a straight up horror movie from him. I think that his writing style, where like literally like dialogue is combative and like laden with foreshadowing, perfectly will fit into the horror genre. But I think, I don't know, like I don't want him to make movies that he's not interested in making.
Right.
And I think that right now he's a little. I don't want to say he's burnt out, but like the recent stuff I've been hearing, his interviews and stuff, he sounds like he's a little ready to take a break.
Yeah. Well, he said he's got 10 in him. Didn't he say that a long time ago?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
he's got like
Kill Bill
one?
counts as one. I don't think Death Proof counts as one.
Okay, so he's got like one or two more?
Yeah.
One, yeah. One.
Star Trek, I don't think is happening anymore.
Wait.
Yeah, I think that's dead too.
He was going to do a Star Trek movie?
Yeah, he's supposed to direct it, but not write it.
Whoa.
Which would have been amazing.
That would have been bonkers. In the new canon? With Chris
yeah.
Pine?
Yeah, I don't know. It's changed so much over the years. The last thing I heard about it was that it's not happening anymore.
Oh, yeah.
It's so sad when movies get like announced and then you're like excited for them and they never happen.
People just shouldn't announce things until they're like week 2.
Taika
Star Wars.
Waititi's Akira is like,
Oh my god.
like I want it so bad.
That would
So
be
bad.
really good. And I would
Maybe we
trust
should
him to
a
do it well.
Mandalorian.
What'd you say, Hubert?
You should do a Mandalorian episode.
Oh, he should. I'm sure he...
Didn't he?
Yeah, didn't he?
No,
think
I'm saying
he did.
Tarantino should.
Oh,
Oh, Tarantino.
I thought you meant Taika. I was like,
I
I
was
think
like,
Taika did.
I think he did too.
Bender's at it again.
Yeah, I think it would like a Mandalorian episode would be amazing. It would because he would just lean so hard into his spaghetti western like
Oh, yeah, it'd be
roots on that. It would just
so good.
like
I mean,
you wouldn't even know it was an episode of the Mandalorian until like the very end of the episode or something.
are Favreau and Tarantino friends? I could see that being a thing. Or they maybe
don't
hate
know.
each other. I don't know.
I really don't know.
Shout out to The Big Empty. A little-known Favreau movie where there's like aliens and bowling. I don't know. It's probably bad. Cesar Villa says, since we're all in quarantine, it's no secret Contagion and Outbreak are movies that come to mind, but digging a little deeper, and just a little, these are not forgotten gems or anything. 12 Monkeys and the Planet of the Apes trilogy are somewhat related to viruses too, and how the world, can change because of a pandemic. I gotta finish the 12 Monkeys show still. I'm like 4 episodes away from the end of it. I like that show.
Mhm.
12 Monkeys is a great movie.
One of
The
the
Apes movies are the best.
Yeah, they're
God,
good.
love those
Sophia loves
movies.
those.
one of
Incredible.
the main regrets is that the Planet of the Apes before this reboot, the Tim Burton one,
Right.
that was supposed to be such a dark, Batman-esque take on Planet of the Apes, and the studio just meddled so hard in that movie that it turned into a giant steaming pile of trash.
Yeah.
But the movie they wanted to make sounded amazing. Eventually, we're gonna get a documentary on it, like we got for Jodorowsky's Dune or whatever.
Yeah.
I still
like-
hope they get one more in the circus verse.
Yeah,
Go for
That would be
one
great.
more.
Seems like they need one more. I've seen them all.
Wrap that up. Dude,
Wrap
the
it
third
up.
one is incredible. One of my favorite blockbusters of all time.
I just watched it not too long ago. Yeah, for the first time. It was really cool.
Love that movie.
Morgan Mahala wants a Patriot check, Huber.
Episode 2.
Wait, are you watching it?
No, I watched episode 1 a while ago.
Oh, so
So I'm on
you
2.
have yet to watch.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I don't think it's gonna happen, team. I don't know. Have you seen
hey,
that
we're
show?
quarantined. Anything could happen.
Yeah. Tokyo,
Huber
have you
could just
seen that?
Patriot. I am not a TV person. I movies. I know a lot about.
Yeah.
You start talking about stuff like The Wire, Breaking Bad. Honestly, never seen any of it.
Oh wow.
And I know that it hurts people when I say that because
Yeah, that hurts.
they're
Patriot-
iconic and whatever. I just don't watch TV all that much. I don't have cable, and when I do streaming stuff, I usually do movies. And
Yeah. Patriot feels like a movie.
it's hard for me even to watch back episodes of anime. I have this very strict rule: if there's more than 26 episodes of anime to catch up on, I won't even start.
Yeah.
So
You've seen Cowboy Bebop though, right?
that's the Cowboy Bebop rule: is the 26
Aha,
episodes
yep.
that I had to catch up on, and 100% worth it.
So worth it.
Yeah.
There's a live action, long rumored live
Yeah.
action.
That Akira dude forever, yeah.
John Cho
John Cho
hurt
yeah.
himself, and
Yes,
so
he
they
did.
paused, and they're waiting for him, which is good to recover, I guess.
Yeah, I hope he's all right because John
Yeah.
Cho is a treasure.
He's great. Was he in Searching? Is that the movie I'm thinking of?
Correct.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that movie. That's the one that's all on
Correct.
computer screens.
You love it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that movie a lot.
It's
Yeah, you do.
That's an underrated gem right there.
Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, Morgan Mahala also wants to know if we're ever actually going to do those commentary tracks that we joke about, Huber.
One of these days.
Maybe
All,
someday.
all 20 of them you got lined up right now.
What's
All
the
right.
one? What's the main one we need to do?
I don't know. We threw out 6 last episode. I don't remember.
Shit.
We're
There's
liars,
one I
Huber.
really, really want to do.
Yeah, there are a few that would be really fun.
New Patreon tier.
Yeah, I don't know if you read it already, but they gave us a quote challenge, and you can take part 2 since you didn't write it, Tokyo.
Oh,
Nice.
I'm supposed to be juggling 10 bowling pins engulfed in flames over my tail at this point, but you just have to imagine that part.
oh.
Fantastic beasts and where to find them.
No.
Fantastic beasts and the crimes of Grindelwald.
Can I
No.
can I get it? Can I get it repeated?
I'm supposed to be juggling 10 bowling pins engulfed in flames over my tail at this point, but you just have to imagine that part.
Mulholland Drive.
No one in Mulholland Drive has a tail.
It's a tail.
Eraser
A metaphorical tail, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
As in somebody is following them, but not a
Right.
literal tail.
Ghostbusters.
It's
How
a
to Train Your Dragon?
it's a talking animal from 2018.
Avengers Infinity War.
It's a animated film, not a cartoon,
Zootopia.
not a CG animated film, a painstakingly stop
Oh,
motion.
Isle of Dogs.
Isle of Dogs.
Isle of Dogs.
That's
you had to
Scarlett
lead me there, but I
Johansson's-
got it eventually.
That's Scarlett
Dogs.
Johansson's character, Nutmeg, I believe. All right. Or they told me it was Nutmeg, but I believe that's Scarlett Johansson's character.
Scarlett Johansson can portray anything she wants, apparently. So.
Yeah. Dogs, Asian people,
So
whatever.
Snake. It's a snake in Jungle Book, right?
I
is
give
she?
Scarlett Johansson a lot of crap, but I think she's a great actress.
Yeah,
So,
she is
love
good.
Black
She's just
Widow.
made some mistakes.
bad
and,
choices.
And had bad reactions to the reactions to her bad
Yeah.
choices. I commented that I shouldn't write these prompts when I'm in such a weird mood. And would you kindly say, just quoted Hunter S. Thompson as saying, when the going gets weird, the weird turn professional. And I like that. All right.
Joe Valentine's a professional.
So now we've got our man of the hour here, Tokyo Slim's quote challenge. We didn't
All
do
right.
so hot last time.
No.
I will say one of you almost got something right.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Nobody got anything right last time though.
Dang it.
You ever kill somebody? I hurt someone's feelings once. Is from Ronin.
Yeah.
Ronin.
Were
One of the
we
few-
talking about Ronin that episode too?
Yes, and we've talked
Ronin.
about it a lot in private since.
Yeah. Damn it.
But yes, I like to do that to you guys just to see whether you're paying attention.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, one of the
Sean
few
Bean.
movies.
Spoilers, dude.
I need to
Sean
see
Bean.
that movie again.
It is excellent.
I loved
It's an
it as a
excellent
kid.
movie.
That was one of those weird movies as a kid, like the Liam Neeson Les Miserables, that I was just in love with as like a depressed
Dude,
little
who's the-
10-year-old.
Who's the female lead in that movie, Ian?
I
She's
was
in
like
so many
I was
movies.
like
I
in
love
love with
that
her as a
actress.
kid. I'm looking
in
at
Ronin.
yeah.
dude.
It's Natasha Michelone.
Dude, she's so sick.
Yeah, I thought she was so pretty when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And still. Deirdre, yeah.
Yep.
Dope movie.
Stellan Skarsgård is such a slimy bastard.
Oh yeah,
in that
she's
movie.
in Truman Show and
Yep.
the Soderbergh Solaris.
Solaris.
Still haven't seen the original Solaris, but I've seen that.
I've only seen the original.
It's on my list on Criterion Channel. As soon as I find 6 hours, or however long it is. All right.
4.5 hours of it are totally worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I liked Das Boot, so why not?
Yeah, it's like that. So next up, you guys are gonna kill yourselves over this one. What about the guy you lobotomized? Did he get a refund? Can you imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger saying that? Total Recall.
Damn it. We're charlatans. Hubert.
Don't
The
hurt.
original Total
Yeah,
Recall.
90.
Yeah,
Don't hurt.
I never saw the new one. I
it's
assumed
not
it was
as
bad.
good. It's not as good.
It's
Yeah.
trash. No, it's actually it's trash.
They made a bold decision to not go to Mars in that movie,
Huh.
which is kind of the whole point of the original.
That's the whole point.
Instead, they go to Australia.
Kind of like
So it's
Mars.
cool in there.
Kind of. It is not our abilities that show us what we truly are. It is our choices. You guys immediately went straight for X-Men when in fact it was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Dumbledore, and not Professor X.
Is that the one that we almost got? Were you giving
No.
us... Okay.
That is not the one you almost got,
Okay, because I was like, you're giving us way too much credit if that was the
the
almost.
Professor X. Hey, dude, Professor X and Dumbledore, they're same tier,
Same role.
category.
same tier. Yeah.
Same archetype in the story.
Yeah, yeah.
The truth is a matter of circumstances. It is not all things to all people all the time. Huber said Captain America Civil War, when in fact it was Captain America Winter Soldier.
Damn it!
That's
so
your
close.
half a point. And I made a note. I said half points don't do anything, but full points also don't do anything. So
Then we're on our way.
you are half a point richer.
You got a marble over me, man. It hurts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it.
You were
I've gotten
close.
I've gotten a lot of them past you guys.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason why I'm changing up the format. I think this
Assisted
month.
mode.
Not
We've died too many
assisted.
times.
It's just that like I think it's easier to do. I think,
Okay.
but we'll get to that in a minute. Behind the stubble and the too prominent brow and the male pattern baldness, I sensed your feminine longing, and it slew me. Was being John Malkovich.
Ugh.
When what's her name goes through the Malkovich tunnel and becomes Malkovich.
Right. God, that's such a good movie.
Yes, love that movie as well. That's Spike Jonze is another one of those people I think you shouldn't give too big of a budget to, but
Yeah.
he hasn't really disappointed me yet. So.
And that's Kaufman too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So this month I am changing the format. What's going to happen? I think if this works this week or this month is I'm going to give you 5 quotes from the same movie in escalating order of obviousness.
Okay.
So hopefully you guys will eventually get whatever this movie is. It's just a matter of when you get this movie. And I know that Huber's just going to shout it out.
Don't blurt it, Huber. Yeah. Don't blurt
I
it.
factored that in. He's going to blurt it, but you can raise your hand when you figure out what it is. If you get it before Huber.
Okay.
All right. So the first and least most obvious quote is, "You don't trust anyone. That's your problem. I trust my barber."
Okay, I've definitely seen this movie.
Ghostbusters.
Incorrect.
No. All right, keep going.
"Misery, misery, misery. That's what you've chosen. I offered you friendship and you spat in my face."
Oh, man. Man, if we don't get it at the end of this, it's going to be frustrating. All right, what's the next one?
"I had to beat an old lady with a stick to get these cranberries."
Oh, my God.
Seinfeld?
He doesn't watch TV.
That's a Seinfeld movie.
That sounds like something that would happen in there. "I had to beat an old lady with a stick to get these cranberries."
Sounds like a comedy, man. Not my wheelhouse, Ian.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
You're on your own.
Huber, don't check out. This is very much in your wheelhouse. All right. "I can't help thinking about the last thing I said to him. He tried to tell me something important, and I threw it in his face."
Oh, my God. I know I've seen this movie. Are you going to make us wait till next month? Or are you going to tell us?
Special occasion, I will probably tell you.
Okay.
Couldn't even guess.
If you don't get it on this one, I will give you a hint on this last one also to help you.
Okay. I know I've seen this.
"This is why only fools are heroes, because you never know when some lunatic will come along with a sadistic choice."
Couldn't even guess.
And if you imagine this person who says this is holding one thing in each of his hands, and he drops them at the same time.
It's Spider-Man 2? Spider-Man... It's one of the... Spider-Man 1?
Far From Home.
No.
It is the same Raimi
Spider-Man 1, yeah.
It is.
Nice.
We got there.
Haven't seen that in over a decade.
Yeah. Ugh. Every single one of those, though, I was like, it's on the tip of my tongue.
And
I know
I
this.
specifically did not give you the most obvious one, obviously.
That was really good.
"With great power comes
Right.
great responsibility."
We would.
That's the secret sixth quote that I was going to give you if nobody got it. But you got there, Ian.
We got there.
Eventually, we got there. Do you like that better than the other format, or do you like the other format better? Because I can, or do you want to keep trying something else every time?
Up to you, man. I mean, I like them both. I think it's fun to drill down like that. It's also fun to have variety, so I like it all.
Yeah, mix it up.
Yeah.
Keep us guessing.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
All right. So I don't forget, I'm going to do the shout-outs right now. Shout out for April. Blue. Caleb Togi Crawford. L. Thanis. Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, and Jesse Blue. We got 2 blues in there. You're true blue, Ethel. I said that to you on Twitter the other day.
You did.
Oh, I'm out of focus now.
Focus.
That's just how it is. My night light came on my computer, and so it, hopefully it's not capturing all red now.
It was the Royal Tenenbaums quote. You just went out of focus.
Went out of focus for a little bit. Well, thank you so much, Tokyo Slim.
Thanks for having me.
For being a guest.
My pleasure and a lifelong dream.
I
to
feel
be on this podcast. So
I feel like you're on every episode anyway, just because you're
in
the
spirit.
comments and the quote challenge now. It's just so great.
it is a highlight of my month.
Well, it's a highlight of ours as well. So thank you so much, Huber. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tokyo Slam.
And just real quick, I want to say that everybody out there who's quarantining, your community has artists, has employees at theaters, has restaurant employees, has support your local arts and entertainment communities while they are currently either unemployed or furloughed or working their asses off trying to get people food. It's a great thing that we have these resources, movie theaters, even though some people hate going to the theaters. I think it's an unrivaled experience. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of the people out there who make our entertainment and our food and all of that.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, wash your hands, stay inside, stay safe. But yeah, patreon.com/easyallies is how Huber and I are able to live. So thank you so very much. Check that out if you haven't already, if you're interested in helping us out. But if you can't, especially during these times, that is totally understandable. But yeah, thank you for watching or listening. Thank you again, Tokyo Slim, for being our special guest. And we will see you again next month for reaction shots. Bye-bye.
Bye.